Hi everyone, Armoured Pants here, and I have another video for you. This is how to Kolobanov. I've actually done a video on this before, but I thought it might be good to renew it and have a look at it again. So firstly, with regard to Kolobanov itself, right? So it's a situation which arises quite frequently when we're playing Blitz, and basically Kolobanov situation is where you are left on your own against at least 3 enemies, and to get the Kolobanov medal you have to defeat those enemies and survive the battle. Now, first thing we need to address with talking about Kolobanov is that it is not a situation in which you wish to find yourself, right? If you're in a Kolobanov situation, it means that things have gone pretty badly in the game to date, right? All of your allies are dead, and you're left with at least 3 of the reds. And it's a very, very difficult situation, certainly not one that we would wish to put ourselves in, right? Basically something has gone badly wrong and you end up like this chap here, right? Even though he's got a smile on his face, he's in hospital and things are not good, right? And that's basically what happens with a Kolobanov, right? And you know, our first reaction is to kind of panic, right? We're kind of left in a situation and we're just, you know, thinking, God, I'm on my own now, and it's kind of a big oh shit moment, right? And many of us lose these situations because of this big oh shit moment and because we panic. So I think, you know, we probably need to just take a step back though and realize that there's no need to panic, that help is at hand, that we can actually think about this logically and maybe come out with a happy outcome for ourselves. Of course, that's not always the case. You can't always win this situation, right? Particularly if the Reds play well and they know what they're doing. But let's have a look at what we should do. And of course, as we just said, the key lesson is don't panic. Don't fucking panic. If you panic, you're going to lose, right? That's for sure. And there's particular reasons though why you shouldn't panic. Firstly, if you panic, you're not going to be thinking, you're not going to come up with a plan, you're not going to come up with an idea. But let's take a step back from that and let's be a little bit more zen, as you know, something I often refer to in my videos, right? You need to be a bit more zen when you play Blitz. And in particular here, we need to think about the psychology of it, right? And the first thing I would say to you is, guys, you can't lose. If you're in a Kolobanov situation, no one expects you to win. Worst case scenario is that what happens is what is expected to happen, that you lose. So therefore there's no pressure on you. You can only do better than the expected outcome. So don't worry about it. Everybody's expecting you to lose anyway. The Reds are expecting to win. So don't worry about it. You know, you can't lose in this situation. In fact, you can only win. Because if you do better than is expected, then it's a win for you, right? And nobody's expecting you to win. So let's have a think about that, right? So the Reds are also expecting to win, right? They're expecting to win the game. They believe the game is over. And this is a psychological advantage for you. Why? Well, the Reds, they relax. They may not work as a team. And therefore, you know, you need to believe that only they can lose this scenario and you can only win. And that's a powerful weapon to have. You know, the Reds may also be gunning for, you know, some extra hit points, an extra kill. They might be pushing for a mastery badge and they may get reckless, you know, and they believe the game is over. So you help yourself by formulating a plan. And you formulate that plan firstly by understanding your own tank, whatever tank you're in, whether it's the Dracula here or whatever, right? So you need to know your tank. You need to check what the red tanks are left, know those tanks, and then formulate a plan based on the strengths and weaknesses of those tanks left in the game. So, for example, if you're in a very fast tank, then basically your plan may be to run away, to try to cap bases or to hide from the enemy, try to ambush them. If you've got a tank with armor or a big gun, it might be to face onto the enemy, or it may be to hide, use your camo numbers and try to take them out one by one. It depends really on the scenario. Let's have a look at some gameplay. We're going to look at 2 different Kolobanov situations. They could actually be described as Kolobanov +1, because in actuality in both scenarios I'm left against 4 tanks, not just 3, so it's even that slightly bit harder. The first game we're going to look at, I'm in the AMX 1357, so obviously very fast moving tank. So its major strengths are its fast, its top speed, its maneuverability, its agility, its mobility. Its second is that it's a light tank, so it has same camo numbers when it's moving as when it's still. Another strength is, of course, is that 6 shell magazine it has, which reloads pretty quickly and can do quite a bit of damage. And if you're in a Kolobanov situation, having a magazine with 6 shells in it is actually very, very beneficial. So these are the kind of strengths of this tank, right? Now, you know, we're going to be in a situation later on where I utilize those strengths of this tank and are able to win the Kolobanov situation. Now, the other thing I would say is that, you know, we need to look at the behavior of the Reds in this game, right? So, and it goes back to the psychology of what we were talking about earlier, right? The Reds very often in Kolobanov situation believe that the game is over, that they've won, and therefore, even if they're good players, they can get sloppy and may not work as a team, separate out looking for you to try to take you out, try to get that extra kill, try to get that extra XP. Maybe they're going for a mastery badge, whatever. So they can get sloppy, right? And that sloppiness is a huge advantage to you, right? Now, the other thing they may, the Reds may do is they may separate, not act as a team, try to look for you, right? So they may believe, okay, well, let's go look for this guy, and we'll do that by separating, right? Or they may not even communicate to each other at all, right? They may just decide, okay, well, look, I'm just going to do my own thing here. The game is over. It's already won. I'm out for myself. I want to actually try to get as much more extra damage as possible. They also believe, and you know, you probably experience this yourself, that the team that they're up against is useless. They've easily wiped out 6, and there's at least 3 of them left, maybe 4, as there is in the case here, or maybe sometimes even more. And they believe that they're up against inferior players, and that they've had a very easy game, and this is a very easy win, right? This also creates hubris, a confidence that they may not necessarily have well placed, because they have no idea what kind of player you are that's left. But the natural assumption is that if they steamrolled the opposition, then they are in the ascendancy and better players. Now I'm going to pause it here because now I've just hit the Kolobanov situation, right? So it's 4v1. Now, if we look, we've discussed the strengths of my tank, right? So I also have a 2 base advantage now in the supremacy situation, right? So the plan I'm formulating is that I'm going to try to spot up the enemy. I'm going to push one way, but then I'm going to go the other way, because I want them to lose where I am. I get a nice couple of shots here, and I'm able to clear out one. So already we're down to a 3v1 situation. Now I'm going to use the speed of my tank to get around the map, and even though I'm moving, I'm going to reset camo here, and it's going to be difficult for them to spot me. I'm looking at the tanks that are left. So we've got 2 heavies and a TD. So I know that they're unlikely to be able to chase me. So if they are coming looking for me, either if they come together, they're not going to find me. And if they separate, then at least they have a chance due to my maneuverability of taking them out. And here's our first customer. And he panics, blows a shot, and it's an easy kill for me then with this 6 shell magazine. I know I'm not going to encounter another enemy tank for a few seconds, so then I reset, I reload rather the whole magazine, so that I'm fully prepared should I come into confrontation with one of the Reds. Now I know where at least one of them is, right? So now I'm going to go and protect C, and I'm going to try to win this on points. But here's the advantage of a light tank. I spot him up before he spots me. I get a free shot on him. I know where the other tank is now. This is one of the advantages of supremacy, right? If somebody's capturing a base, you know exactly where they are. And there we go, 1 on points. Kolobanov medal delivered against 4 tanks. Now, that in the end was relatively easy, right? I didn't have to do too much there. All I had to do was, firstly, the lessons that we discussed earlier. Don't panic, which I didn't. Assess the situation. In this particular situation, it's a supremacy game, so therefore points are on my side. And I also know and can predict the enemy's behavior because I know what they have to do. They have to go and either kill me or they have to go and capture bases. So it makes their sort of behavior a bit more predictable and allows me then to plan better. What other lessons can we take from this game? Well, it also is an illustration of exactly what we discussed about the Reds, right? The Reds behaved in a less than optimal way, right? They split up. One went to capture base, one went looking for me, the TD. I don't really know what the other eraser was doing, maybe coming to look for me as well. But they split up, right? And they had low hit points, so therefore it was not a good idea for them to split up, right? They should have stayed together, pooled their hit points, pooled their ability to concentrate fire on me. But instead they split up, and this is exactly what we said, right? They believe the game is over, they believe the game is won. And even if they're good players, sometimes the good play goes out the window, because once you believe that a game is over, that you've already won it, then very much that can create a situation of hubris where you are no longer playing as you would play at the start of a game. And I think probably we've all been guilty of this, right? I remember very famously watching a Bushkin video years and years ago where he actually described a very similar situation where he was left with two other players and there was just one IS-3 left on the other team, and the IS-3 actually ended up winning the game. And obviously, I mean, Bushka and I think whoever his platoon partner was obviously excellent players, right? So it shows that even the best of us can let our good play go out the window sometimes when we are in this situation, right? And you know, but as we said earlier, that's a huge advantage for you, right? The fact that the Reds may believe the game is already won. Now let's have a look at a second game. Again, this is a Kolobanov +1. It's I'm left in the end against 4 tanks. This is a completely different tank I'm in, by the way. This is the WT, the Waffle Tractor. And obviously a tank with completely different characteristics to the AMX, right? So firstly it's a TD, it's not a light tank, it doesn't have that view range, etc. But it obviously has a big gun, right? So rather than having a 6 shell magazine to deal with, we now have just one big alpha rolling gun. So this game, by the way, I don't play particularly well at the start of it. There's a reason for that, by the way. In some of the shots I miss, I had been playing the Tortoise a lot because I was shooting the Tortoise guide, and I'd been playing it. And the Tortoise, if you've seen that guide, you'll know has an amazing gun system with significantly faster muzzle velocity and better gun handling than the Waffle Tractor, right? In fact, it even has I think 10%, over 10% better gun handling than the Grill, right? So the muzzle velocity was a particular problem for me because I'm normally pretty decent at doing deflection shots, but you'll see I missed this Leopard PTA I think 2 or 3 times in this game. Now he's living a bit of a charmed life, but also I completely fluffed my shots, and I guess that's sort of a little anecdotal evidence of what we discussed before about knowing your tank. If you go back to playing a tank that you haven't played for some time, and I don't think I played the Waffle Tractor for a week or so, and I'd been playing the Tortoise and the AT range, then you know it still takes a few games to get back into it. And I think this is my first game. Actually, I think I went up to the Waffle Tractor because I think I was a bit bored with playing the Tortoise, because you know, while a decent tank, it's pretty undynamic, right? And the Waffle Tractor is one of my favorite TDs, so I just thought just for a bit of fun I'd play it. And you can see I fluffed quite a few shots in this Leopard here, living a kind of a bit of a charmed life to guy. But this is actually my fault because you know, I hadn't readjusted for this much lower muzzle velocity, and the fact that this tank has significantly inferior gun handling. And you know, Blitz is a team game, and if I'm being brutally honest with myself, probably my poor play up till now has contributed towards me ending up in this Kolobanov situation, right? If I had been dealing more damage up to now in this game, then maybe me and my team wouldn't find ourselves in this situation. You know, but you know, it is what it is. I can't really do too much about it, and now I'm in this Kolobanov situation. We're going to pause it here. Whether or not it's my fault or not, I'm in this situation. Definitely I contributed towards being in this situation for sure, if I'm honest. So here we are now, I'm against 4 tanks again. And the problem I have here is that one of them, the Leopard PTA, is an extremely dangerous tank for me. Because it's fast moving, good view range, good gun, great maneuverability and mobility. So basically the plan is I need to take him out first. Even if I'm going to take some hits, I need to take him out first. Switch up to HE, nice alpha roll, take him out. Now we're back to 3v1. Also there's another waffle tractor there. I'm also spotted up, they know where I am and they're coming towards me. What I decide to do is I'm going to take a risk and I'm going to take out the other waffle tractor. I get a low roll on him. So now I've got 700 hit points left and I'm against 2. So very quickly I think I've turned the odds into my favour. Switch back to AP and I anticipate nicely here, right? I suspect the IS-3 is going to come through here, and if he does then I get a free shot on him. And I do, free shot on him. Before he can align his gun, I'm out of there. Now the Reds start to play as a team, right? They come at me both sides. So obviously I need to select this weaker target first, clear him off, which I do, but I take another round for my troubles. But now we're 1v1, right? And I'm going to pause it here again for a second, because now I need to make a decision, right? And the decision here, and this is a decision we often face in Kolobanov situations, is it fight or flight? The E75 is front onto me, and even though I have a big gun, if he HEs me, I'm one shot for him, right? So I'm thinking it's not a good idea to fight, I'm gonna run, so it's flight for me. I snap off a shot, see if I can get one into him. Wasn't really expecting to go through, it didn't. And now it's about knowing your tank and knowing the tank you're up against, right? So the E75 is heavily armoured, big gun, but slow moving, right? I have no armour, big gun, but I'm faster, significantly faster. So I decide to rabbit. And this is about just understanding your tank and the tanks you're up against. My key advantage in this situation is my speed, my manoeuvrability against him. So I also know it's supremacy. We've got 1 base each, so I'm going to go to A. I know he's approximately at B, and if I were him, probably what I would do is I would go to cap C, right, the base that I have, because that kind of pushes me into a situation where I either need to defend C or go to A. As it happens, he doesn't really do either, which is good. Now it's 2 bases to 1, and this is great because this has given me a brilliant advantage. I have a huge points advantage now, whereas before I didn't. And now he needs to either go to a base, which is either going to be A or C. If he goes to A, which he did, but he didn't decide to cap it, I know where he is. If he went to C, he's going to be really far away. I can go and cap B. So I used the supremacy basis to put myself in an advantageous situation and to play to my strengths of maneuverability against his weakness of being slow and cumbersome. And now all I have to do is stay away from him, right? Now you will see in games when you do things like this, you get the Reds calling you a coward and blah 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 blah. Just ignore that. Another key point I would say to you about Kolobanov is just ignore everything that's been said to you, either by your allies or by the Reds. It's not going to help you. Just switch off, ignore it. If there's a message flashing up, just ignore them. You develop a plan, stick to that plan. The other key point, again I would emphasize, is guys, you're not expected to win. The Reds are expected to win, so you have nothing to lose. So don't panic. Worst case scenario is that you lose, which is what was expected anyway. So you have nothing to lose. All you can do is win and pull, as I did there, victory from the jaws of defeat. And something the Reds are not expecting. I'm pretty sure in that game the Reds were not expecting when they were 4v1, especially against a waffle tractor, lightly armoured, that they were going to lose. But they did. And you know, that basically is a huge win for me, and it's a huge loss for them, right? But guys, if I had lost, so what? Well, firstly, losing is part of Blitz anyway, right? So it doesn't matter, right? But if I lost, so what? It was expected anyway, right? So let's have a recap of the key points of this video, right? So, Kolobanov, right, firstly, you don't plan for this, right? It's not an ideal situation to be in, and one you don't want to be in, let's face it, right, if we're honest, right? You don't want to be in that situation. But if you find yourself there, something has gone horribly wrong in the game, right? If you're in a situation where there's 3 or 4 reds versus you, it's not a good situation. But key lesson, don't panic. If you panic, one thing is for certain, you will lose. So don't panic. Keep thinking, right? Be zen. You know, as I said, you cannot lose in this scenario because you're expected to lose anyway. So the worst case scenario is what's expected. All you can do is do better than people expect. So there's nothing for you to lose. The pressure's on the Reds. They're expected to win. The pressure's on them. There's no pressure on you. So just relax, formulate a plan, and try to execute that plan as best to your ability. Because you can only do better than what's expected, because the expected outcome is for you to lose and the Reds to win. You can only do better than that, and the worst case scenario is that whatever happens is what is expected to happen. So there's no pressure on you. So what I would say is just be zen, don't panic. Try to use the Reds' hubris, their confidence and their belief that they have already won the game against them. Formulate your own plan and try to execute that to the best of your ability. And you know, they're not expecting you to be a good player normally. They're not expecting you to be able to win the game, and that is a huge strength for you. So know your tank, know the enemy tanks, play to your strengths and their weaknesses, and do your best. You're not always going to win a Kolobanov situation, right? The odds are hugely stacked against you. But don't worry if you don't win, because nobody's expecting you to win. But if you do find yourself in that situation, don't panic, formulate a plan, try to execute that plan and see what happens. You know, all you can do is win in this scenario. So cheers Mush, thanks for watching. I hope you found it useful, I hope you found it enjoyable. As always, let me know what you think in the comments or in Discord. And I guess now all that remains for me to say is pants off.